The better thing to do is sign it, don't tell anybody. Do the work, don't tell anybody. Launch it, don't tell anybody. Get 10 deals, tell everybody. In the past, I've changed the metric of net new partners. You can't actually count a net new partner until they've transacted X amount of deals. I like to use 5 as an example.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Partnerships Unlocked, where we have fast, tactical conversations with some of the best partner and channel leaders in the game. Today, I'm very excited to have the one and only Marc Monday on. I'm not even going to try to introduce the incredible career that this man has had. I'm going to let Marc do it himself, but it's going to be a fun episode. Marc, can you please tell the folks a little bit about yourself?
Okay, you set the bar pretty high. I'm so happy to be with you. And Greg, it's such a joy to speak with this community. I've been in this industry now 30 plus years, and I've seen lots of changes from client to server computing, to the advent of the cloud, consumption models, all of the things along the way. And I've been really lucky to work with some really powerful brands as these industries have evolved in the last 30 years. And so it is a true pleasure to be with you today. I'm probably most known as being a roving channel chief. I've been at lots of really cool tech companies over the years. And today, I'm so fortunate that I lead the partner programs team here at ServiceNow globally.
Got it. And just because it's I think it'll get people fired up. What are some of those other companies that you've...
So, again, I started my career at Microsoft, wonderful, joined in the late 90s, early 2000s. The company was around 25,000 people, growing like crazy, acquiring companies, building technologies, and it was the beginning of everything. And, one of the things I'm most proud of there is building out our Microsoft Partner Network, originally our Microsoft Partner Program, our Microsoft Partner Network, and then, of course, building out all of what you know today as these cloud sales motions around Azure, around Office 365. So at the very beginning of those products coming into market and the business models that we evolved as the time went on. So we're in a business model evolution point here. I was lucky enough to spend time at VMware. I led a lot of transformation with Concur. Concur, we were acquired by SAP, and I had the opportunity to spend a few years leading the channel in North America for SAP. So really have had it's been a true privilege, and I've been lucky to work for these amazing companies.
Yeah, I mean, some very impressive companies with some very impressive channels. So excited to jump in and ask this first question. I feel like we're not going to have enough time or glean nearly enough of your knowledge today, but we'll try. What is one play or strategy that you have used in your career, maybe multiple times, that has just worked really well for you? And why do you believe it worked? And kind of what did you learn when you started doing it?
Yeah. The one that I think gets overlooked, and it's just because of the nature of the way we think about driving net new customer acquisition, is maybe a little bit more pedestrian, but it's my favorite one, which is next logical purchase. You did the work. You won the customer through the partner. They're excited. They bought a product, and then you forget about the customer. Going back to that customer and saying, hey, we've been watching what you've used. We know a little bit more about what you use in your infrastructure. We know quite a bit about who you are as a company. And then algorithmically start to say, companies that look like you, that have this technology, these are the next 3 steps. Customers love that. And again, when you're doing it not in a salesy way, but in a, hey, I've benchmarked what you've done, especially in a consumption world, you can say, I'm actually watching your consumption and I'm seeing what's happened. You added 500 new users. Wow, you must be in growth mode. Companies that are in growth mode make these next following purchases. That to me is one of the simplest things we can do. And our channel partners sometimes forget too, because they're so focused, especially if they're implementation partners of, I got to go find the next new implementation. But going back to your existing customer and selling them more and connecting the dots for them, that to me is the real unlock. And that's where the flywheel really starts to spin. And it's where it becomes much more profitable for your channel partner, because now they're selling multiple technologies on that same order form.
That's great. That's great. And so that's from the perspective of the vendor. That sounds like it's from the perspective of the actual MSP or the
both. Yeah, I mean both.
Partner.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think if you're doing an MSP sell-in, of course, if you're doing an MSP sell-in, then of course you'd say, hey, here's our foundational technology, and here's the next one. But I would say like with a traditional reseller partner or a consulting and implementation partner, that's where they often forget to go back and ask for the next order. And then what invariably happens is the renewal comes up and then you're sweating the renewal. But if you're constantly selling through that sales motion, here's the next logical purchase, here's the next logical purchase, the renewal just happens. It's not an event at that point. Instead, what happens often is we or the channel partner sell a deal into a customer. They take the order, thank you very much. They implement it, they disappear. The renewal comes up a year later, and then the customer doesn't renew, and it means you're not paying attention. So it's what I would say is a little bit of like customer success approach to it. But I like to think of it as that next logical purchase because it is algorithmic. Once you've benchmarked it enough times, you can say, "Yep, the math says based upon where you're at, here's what we recommend."
And is that something you've actually built into your programs in a way, like essentially supporting the partner in that, kind of leading that horse to
Yeah,
water?
yeah. I mean, you'll see some companies talk about like white space reports, like here's a place where you can go and hunt. It's not dissimilar to that. So take that idea of like we've analyzed a white space for you, and instead you say, hey, we've analyzed this cohort of customers. They're all around this size. They have this particular technology, and then maybe here's 3 or 4 industry verticals or SIC codes. By those, here's what we recommend you sell next.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I mean, we definitely see that a lot with our customers where the reseller kind of just doesn't really pay attention until that renewal comes around.
Yeah.
And then come renewal time, everybody's just kind of scrambling at the last minute, and it's not a good experience for anybody, let alone the customer.
Think about it this way. Your industry best practice when you're doing everything right should be a renewal at 110% of value. What a lot of companies do is they just go renew the thing you just bought and increase the price by 10%. That is not a great customer value. Now, it may make sense. We have inflation, we have other things, so I'm not diminishing that. But if you go and you say, hey, my goal is to be 110% of value without the price increases, you're automatically wiring yourself to say, oh, I need to go sell that customer more. And then from the customer's perspective, as I said, they don't feel like they're being sold necessarily because they're like, oh, I'm in this same environment where the world's moving a million miles an hour. This guy's telling me that a company that looks like me is doing the same thing and they're having success. Maybe I should consider that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we find that even with our own customers, they're constantly just asking, like, well, what should we do next? Right? Like,
Totally.
what are your other customers doing that has been successful? Like that they want that from you. And at least on the reseller side or the MSP side, like they should definitely be that kind of like trusted advisor in that capacity.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is in this environment where the industry is moving so quickly and you're getting so many pieces of information every day, if someone comes to you and says, I know what you're going through, even if it's like only 70% accurate, and I know these might be 3 steps that could work for you because I've seen it happen 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 times before, I'm going to go, yeah, I better listen to this. And so it is that kind of truly consultative selling. I know it doesn't sound like super whiz bang or cataclysmic in terms of some unique idea that Marc has, but it works. And this is the thing: is it's this small increments of change can have a big effect over time, and this is one of those things.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense. Um, Now jumping to the other side, the
Yeah.
more fun question: what is something that I was going to say unceremoniously, but maybe ceremoniously blew up in your face that really taught you like a valuable lesson? It's a strategy or a tactic or a play that should have worked, but
Yeah.
it didn't, and you learned a valuable lesson from it.
I think the universe gives me this lesson time and time again. So I've probably learned this lesson 3 or 4 times, maybe more than that. And in the channel, sometimes we're so worried about scaling that we try to build and then launch. And there's this mentality: if we build it, they will come. And I think about in the various roles I've had over the years in BD, particularly in partner BD, where it's like, if I could just pencil this deal, everything's going to happen. If I could just sign this new reseller, it solves all my problems. If I could just get a distie to care enough about this particular technology, it's going to fix it. And every time I miss the point. The point is never the signing of the deal, of a new partner or aggregator, distie, reseller, MSP. It's never that. It's always what happens after you sign. And where it really is blown up in my face is and this is a lesson do not do. When you sign the partner and you send out the Wahoo mail, we just signed partner ABC to a global contract and it's wonderful. I assure you, your CEO, your COO, your CTO, your CFO is going to send you an email in a month and say, or a Teams message or a text, where's the revenue? The better thing to do is sign it, don't tell anybody. Do the work, don't tell anybody. Launch it, don't tell anybody. Get 10 deals, tell everybody. Look at the thing that we built. And it's just the sequence of events. You have to move the goal line from signed to executed. And in fact, in the past, I've changed the metric of net new partners. You can't actually count a net new partner until they've transacted X amount of deals. I like to use 5 as an example, but it might be 25. And if you say that's actually the day we have the party, that we have a new partner who's ready to go, that is so much better because at that point, let's say they're at 25 deals, the flywheel's already spinning.
I love that so much for so many different reasons, but I think maybe the biggest reason is that it addresses the kind of elephant in the room that partnerships and channel are seen as very hand wavy
Yes.
people.
You can see me doing my
And
dance right now.
right, right, like where, and granted, look, part of it stems from those questions already kind of a lot of folks starting behind the eight ball when they come into the role and
Yeah.
expectations being very high. And I have a lot of thoughts around setting expectations early on and often. But yeah, that's a great call out of like, it's not real until there's a there there.
Yeah.
And I love that like wait until there's a there and then tell everybody. I mean that makes it so much more tangible because then you're not the boy or girl who cried wolf, right?
Yeah,
You're
totally.
you're only talking about results that have already transacted. So
The
that's
other
a
nice thing is
very,
that
very
it
good.
also gives you this ability to do some experimentation under the covers. So maybe while you're doing that, maybe you sign 3 partners. And maybe with each of them, you're thinking a little bit different. Well, the economics we tried here looked like this, or this motion around this particular segment might be a little different, or we tried them in different geographies. It also gives you this ability, as long as no one's like looking at you saying, where's the revenue? You said you signed these guys. It gives you this really unique opportunity to say, where am I actually moving the lever? So then when you go to do the next one, you're like, aha, I tried 3 things. 2 of them failed. This one worked. I'm going to go double down on that.
No, I mean that's great precisely for the fact that like I've always believed partnerships is experimentation, channel is
Totally.
experimentation, right? If you can't it's hard to experiment when you're setting yourself up that every experiment has to work.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up to fail. I think that's the thing. But what I would say, I mean, in this same vein, is fail a lot. And
Yeah.
this is another thing I see happen with partner people and just salespeople and driven people in general, is they don't want to fail and they become perfectionists. And so they work so hard on the one partnership and they work on it for a year and they're doing T's and C's and they're on the plane and of course they want to celebrate like, gosh, I got through that milestone. But the reality is, it takes a little bit more than that. And so I think sometimes we just spend too much time being concerned about the optics of I just spent a year on this and the revenue is going to come, and we just want to celebrate it. Just delay the celebration a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's an incredibly valuable lesson. And so before we jump into usually at the end ask for 2 to 3 other
Yeah.
kind of unlocks that
Yeah.
really you wish you knew earlier in your career, I actually have a off book question that I'm just so
Uh
curious
oh.
to ask, which is that you have worked at so many and you've helped build so many, I think, just very admirable channel programs and channel organizations. And I think a lot of people that are earlier in their evolution within their businesses look at those companies and they want to understand like what is the secret sauce and what is the chicken and what is the egg. And what I mean by that is like, did those companies build amazing channel or partner organizations because they had this gravity in the market in their product and everything else, or did they build that gravity in the market through those incredible channel and partner organizations? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll give you a super technical explanation. The term is called it depends. It really does depend. Sometimes you're lucky and sometimes you're good, and I'd rather be lucky than good. But I will say there are three core attributes of when peanut butter meets chocolate and you get the perfection of that Reese's peanut butter cup. Is the go to market crystal clear in terms of the segmentation that you want your channel partner to go after? Do you have systems, tools, and resources to support that go to market? And does your economic model, meaning your compensation and the partner's economics, pencil out? If you hit those three things, you're still going to bat 300, but you're going to bat 300. And you can be in the MLB batting 300. So those three things have to happen, and then you have to keep going and keep going and keep going. James Clear posted something yesterday I love so much, which he said that a lot of times this stuff is like hiking. The view gets better as soon as you start walking. And that is true. You've got to just go and try and experiment. And if you're 1 for 3, that is a win.
That was incredibly clear. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
So
thanks, buddy.
yeah, so what are those 2 to 3 unlocks that you just wish you knew earlier in your career, honestly?
Write it down. I mean, now I'm just kidding. These are a little bit trite, but like a plan, there's a strategy, and then there's a hope. And I'm a big believer in hope, but if you don't write down your business plan, you're not getting there, period. It doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be a 100-page PowerPoint deck, but you better have your goals outlined. 2, have gates and dates. Make a decision when you're going to decide you're in or you're out. To the point of sticking with some partnerships that took forever to pencil and nothing came of them, I knew in phase 2 it wasn't going to happen. So figure out when you want to fish and cut bait. And then 3, keep score. And we forget to keep score sometimes. And I think that goes to your point about sometimes partner people are perceived as hand wavers. If you keep score like you're on a quota, because you are, and if you keep quota like you're trying to keep pace with just anybody else who's carrying a bag, and you keep pace with that environment and you keep score, and you're clear what's a leading indicator and what's a trailing indicator, and we've got a lot of work to do because we have to go build capacity through these partners. But if you keep score, you will be successful.
I love it. I love it. Very tactical answers that I think people are just going to get a lot from this conversation. Any final thoughts or words before we hop off, Mark?
Enjoy the ride, y'all. This is the most chaotic time I've seen in my 30 years in the industry, and you can be afraid, or you can be excited, or you can be curious. I would encourage you to be curious and excited. It's easy to get in the doom and gloom of, hey, this industry is changing and we have these global economic things. Or you can say, I get to do this every day. I get to lead. I get to innovate. I get to chart the future. Not a lot of people can. So enjoy the ride.
A phenomenal closing thought. Well, Mark, this was so much fun. We'll have to do this again. I'm sure you have a lot more wisdom to share, but thank you so much for joining.
Anytime, buddy. It's so great to see you, and I'm so proud of the work that you're doing. It's fun to just watch you innovate and take the channel to the next level. I've been doing this for a long time, and it's love to see just going to the next level with folks like y'all.
Thank you. We appreciate that. We'll chat soon.
Thanks, buddy.